Hey guys, so this is going to be your first vlog video to watch. This is mainly going to be for manufacturing processes, but might also post it to DDP as well. So we'll see how this goes. But I'm out here in my home shop. I'll give you kind of a better preview of that at some point here. But what you're going to be watching me do today is work on my little Craftsman 109 benchtop lathe. Um, the story behind this kind of goes a few years ago, I was making a product to make and sell, and I needed to turn some small aluminum pieces, some little couplers, and I needed to lay that home. I was making some of the parts at school on our lathes at school, but I really needed something a little more convenient so that when I came home from work, I could work on these products. So I at the time had a 1975 Honda CB500 motorcycle, and it had left me stranded on the side of the road a couple times. So I decided to try to part ways with it, and there was this lathe posted on Facebook Marketplace out in Massachusetts, and asked the guy if he would be interested in trading straight up for my motorcycle, and I think he had it on there for $300 or something. He said, yeah, we'll do it. So, I'd sent him a couple pictures of the motorcycle. So loaded up, drove out to Massachusetts, and got to his house. He said, your motorcycle's in a little bit more rough shape than what I was imagining. But I eventually ended up talking him into the deal. I'd driven a long way and whatever. So loaded this thing up, brought it home, and started making some of these little adapters that I had to make, these little couplers. And I've made some small stuff on it before. Made this. This is a motorcycle shifter foot peg that I was gonna try to make and sell. I made this right here on this little lathe, so it's pretty capable thing. You can't really overload it. It doesn't take too heavy of a cut, but it does the job for the majority of the little things that I do. Really what I'm gonna try to do today is show you guys the 4-jaw chuck. So this has a 4-jaw chuck as compared to what our lathes at the school have. Our lathes have a 3-jaw chuck. The jaws on that chuck move dependently. They move together, right? They're all three of them are tied together, so they move at the same time when you tighten and loosen it. But on a 4-jaw chuck, each of those jaws is independent from one another. And that offers some really cool stuff. So if you need to clamp something of an odd shape, like a square or something like that, you can actually clamp that in there and center it up where you want to drill a hole or machine a feature. And then when you do need to hold on to cylindrical pieces, it offers really high levels of adjustability. Even on this lathe, this is out of like the 40s or the 50s. I can dial it in. I can dial the run out, right? So the amount that the part bounces up and down, I can dial that into within like a thousandth of an inch or less using a dial indicator. So it's pretty adjustable. So the part that I'm going to be making, really, you're probably going to just see me dialing in the run out, making sure that's good. I'll give you a different shot of this. The videos that I'm going to be doing might not be edited super great, right? You might be some weird cuts or whatever, but I think you'll get the point. So I'm going to give you a different view of this in a few minutes and show you how to dial in the run out on a 4-jaw chuck. The part that I'm going to be making, I think most of you know that I'm building this exoskeleton for an engineer out of Massachusetts, out of Boston, and I need to make these little spacers. So these are little aluminum spacers. So I'm going to get some material in there, dial in the run out, and you should be able to see me do that. I think the video will end up being about 15 minutes long. We'll see, how everything goes. But I really would like you guys to pay attention and at least pick up one little thing out of these videos that you can take back when we do get back to in session. So give me another minute or so to set up another shot for you guys, and we'll see how it goes. All right, so I'm at my bandsaw. Got a little piece of material here, a little piece of aluminum. Gonna slice it up a little bit. I don't need a really big piece here, so just thought I'd show you guys cutting this up, and then I'll bring it over to the lathe and show you how to dial this in. So it actually does a pretty decent job cutting this stuff up. If you can see it there. Not so bad. It's actually a woodworking blade. I've just got the speed of the motor tuned down so that it's moving a little bit slower, so it cuts aluminum pretty well. Alright, so I've got the magnetic base set up on the ways of the lathe. Okay, and I've got this dial indicator. I know that the glare is really bad. I tried to shade the window that's right behind this lathe the best that I could. Basically, if I kind of put my hand here and block some of it, you can see the dial face a little better. That's probably what I'll do as I'm really getting close on this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the end of the tip of the dial indicator to touch the material, rotate the chuck around, and watch for my highs and my lows. So I'm going to look for high spots, and I'm going to tighten the high spots and loosen the low spots. And by doing that, rotating around, tightening the highs, loosening the lows, I will eventually get this thing dialed in. So you're going to kind of watch me for a few minutes, work on dialing that in. And once I get it dialed or close to it, I'll show you that dial face a little better. Like I said, I can kind of block the light, and you can see the needle on the dial indicator. So give me just a minute. I'm going to work around getting this thing set up, and then I'll talk to you a little bit more about it in a second here. All right, so I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but if you watch that needle on the indicator, we are bouncing between, you know, a 1,000th of an inch increment, even a little bit less than that. So again, I tightened the highs, loosened the lows, and in the process of doing that, I'm trying to split the difference. So the numbers are all relative. They don't really matter. It's really the location of where that needle is, you know, in relation to each jaw. So as I rotate it around, I'm going to find my highs, tighten them, loosen my lows, and as I'm tightening, I'm splitting the difference between, you know, the extremes. So, you know, wherever the needle is on one end versus on the other, right? I'm trying to split the difference between the two of them. And on this little lathe, I'm pretty happy with that indicator right there. So I think you can kind of see the point. So tighten my highs, loosen my lows, split the difference between the two, and it's in there nice and snug. I think if I turn the lathe on, I'll give you another shot with the lathe turning and probably machining a little bit here just to show you this thing running. So I think you'll see that the run out is very, very minimal. I think the run out on the actual chuck is pretty significant, but dialing that into the center line of the spindle, dialing the part of the part that I'm machining into the center line of the spindle is right on the money. So you can see, thing does pretty good job actually. Can't take a very heavy cut, but does leave a decent finish when you're you know halfway you know even when you're a little bit aggressive with it. But this does have auto feed, which is nice, right? So I can rotate the carriage across or travel the carriage across by hand manually, but also with an auto feed, this little lever here. So it does make for a nice finish on the outside of this thing. So hopefully you guys learned something. Really dialing in that 4-jaw chuck, tightening the highs, loosening the lows, splitting the difference in the two locations, the highs and lows, and getting it running true to the spindle. Over the next few days, I will be making a couple of these little spacers. You'll see some more machining. I'll try to show you guys a few other little things. Okay? So catch you later, guys.